I've visited the UK more than 20 times, so of course I've eaten a pasty or two. In fact, I'd even eaten things which claimed to be Cornish pasties. But here's what I was trying to do in 2020. Finally get to Cornwall. If you've seen any of my prior videos about planning and going on our trip from Dallas to Britain in September of 2020, you know that it was a very challenging trip to make happen. But you know what was even more tricky? Finding a classic tin miner's pasty in Cornwall these days. For those of you who don't know much about pasties, here is a quick recap. Pasties are a handheld meal that originated back in the 1500s. A crust which is folded over and around a hearty filling and then sealed with a crimped edge before baking. Originally created so that miners could take the pasty with them for a quick lunch down in the mines, tradition states that the original pasties actually had a 2-course meal in them. One end was filled with meat and veg, and the other end was a sweet filling like fruit or jam. More on that later. The classic savory pasty filling is beef, like steak if you're getting a posh pasty, sliced potato, carrots, onion, and swede. Let me pause here for a brief moment to tell any American viewers that I am referring to the root vegetable known in the States as rutabaga when I say Swede, not a person from Sweden. Now, of course, there is a very wide array of pasty fillings you will find available in pasty shops these days, ranging from steak and Stilton, chicken and chorizo, spinach and ricotta, chili cheese and beef, to rhubarb and custard. One more fascinating fact I learned about Cornish pasties. Folks in Cornwall eat a lot of fish and seafood, but they do not usually put those in their pasties. And in fact, superstitious fishermen refuse to even take a pasty on their boat, as it is considered bad luck. Okay, now back to me and my pasty quest. Since I've been traveling to Britain for decades now, I've had a few pasties in my past. But when I learned about the traditional 2-course Cornish tin miner's pasty, I was very anxious to try one. And in 2020, I was planning my very first trip to Cornwall, so it was the perfect opportunity to eat a legit Cornish pasty in Cornwall. But tracking down a 2-course pasty proved more challenging than I had hoped. I asked Google. I asked my subscribers in the Magenta Otter tribe. I posted on a Facebook group about Britain with over 43,000 members. I got lots of recommendations for places with good standard pasties, and several people trying to tell me that I was talking about a Bedfordshire clanger. But nobody could tell me a bakery in Cornwall where I could find one of these traditional sweet plus savory miners' pasties. Back in Texas and able to do further research, I did discover on cornishpasties.org.uk that Morrison's at one time was selling one of these 2-course pasties. They no longer appear to be available, but even if they were, I would really prefer to eat one of these authentic tin miner pasties from a small local bakery in Cornwall. It's my dream to still find one someday. For this trip, I decided to just find the most delicious standard pasties I could. Unfortunately, I had another obstacle in my pasty quest. My husband is really not a fan of pasties. You can hear more about that in my Weird Foods Not to Eat video. I won't take time in this video to discuss that in detail, but let's just say that I was determined to find some pasties so delicious that even my pasty pessimistic husband would love them. The first stop on our pasty quest was the lovely Cornish seaside town of Foy. I share our visit to Foy in another video, which I will link to, but here is the scoop on our first phase of Pasty Quest in Foy. We are here in Foy, my first day in Cornwall, and what I am calling part 1 of Pasty Quest. I'm here to find the yummiest Cornish pasty I can. Now I really want to get the kind that has the 2 courses, the savory and the dessert. I'm not sure I can find one of those ancient pasties still being made in Cornwall, but I'm on a quest. So here in Foy, the first bakery I wanted to go to, which was Key Bakery, unfortunately was sold out for the day.
But we did manage to get some pasties at Niles Bakery. We're getting both a steak and a cheese pasty, and we're gonna try them now.
We have found a lovely place to sit down and enjoy our pasties here on a bench next to the church. All right, I learned my lesson from the Vegemite tasting that it's best to starve Ian before eating something he doesn't think he wants. You may recall from my Weird Foods video, Ian is not a fan of the pasty. He calls them nasty pasties. But he hasn't eaten since breakfast, and it's like 4 p.m. and he's starving. So I got him a steak pasty. And what do you think, Ian?
I think you gave me the cheese.
So how is it, Ian?
I think it's pretty good, but it's still awfully crusty. So, but as hungry as I am enjoying it.
Okay, good to know. All right, here I am trying my first legit Cornish pasty in Cornwall. Problem with the first bite is it's always just crust. Yeah, so it has cheese and potatoes and carrot and swede. I got just the cheese and veg. It's very good, but I think it's gonna get better when I get to the middle where all the veggies and cheese are. It tastes like cheesy potatoes. It's really good once you get to the middle part and it's not just the whole crusty part. And no, I'm not going to eat this crusty rim because I know that's just the handle and not meant to be eaten, even though I'm not a miner with tin or arsenic or anything on my hands. But the best thing about these pasties was that they were fresh from the oven and warm. So they are really good. I'd probably give them a, I'm going to say 7 out of 10. The first pasties got a thumbs up, so if you haven't yet, please consider giving this video a thumbs up before we get to round 2 of our Pasty Quest, which is in the delightful town of Padstow, Cornwall. Well, it's our last day in Cornwall, and unfortunately I've only had one pasty so far, so Pasty Quest is not going well. I'm hoping to have a really good pasty today before we head north to Exmoor. What we're trying to pack into our last day in Cornwall is we're going to go to Padstow in search of a good pasty. A pasty in Padstow. So we just arrived in Chepstow, which is a traditional port here in Cornwall, and it is known for being a great foodie destination. So I am going to continue Pasty Quest and go to a bakery that I've heard has great stuff. Here is the famous Chuff Bakery. And here is the queue of eager customers waiting outside for their turn inside the little bakery to order their pasties and other scrummy baked goods. They were observing strict safety measures here at Chuff, so only a few customers were allowed in the bakery at a time. You can see in the shop window that they have won a number of awards for their pasties, so I was excited to try them. And I loved this saying, "A balanced diet is a Chuff pasty in each hand." Haha. Here are the delicious fresh pasties on offer, all warm from the oven. And here are the 2 that I was buying. I love how their pack describes them as traditionally baked in their quayside bakery in Padstow. Sounds perfect. My son Weston always teases me when I'm about to eat something and have to photograph it first. He says, "The camera eats first." But seriously, this is an important moment. It's my last day in Cornwall and my last chance to eat an authentic pasty in a Cornish seaside town. So I have to get that money shot for Instagram of me holding up my pasty with the gorgeous harbor full of Cornish fishing boats in the background. Of course, I must do this carefully and quickly so as not to lose my pasty to a greedy gull. If you haven't seen our video of St. Ives, check that out to see what happens to Ian's sandwich. All right, so Pasty Quest continues. I feel good about this one. We are in Padstow, and I went to the famous Chuff Bakery. And we had some epic fails of going to the bakeries we wanted to get pasties too late in the day. But I am well and truly chuffed that we made it to Chuff Bakery in time. So we came here to Padstow just to come to this award-winning bakery, and I was able to get hot pasties, a cheese pasty for me, cheese, onion, and leek, and for Ian, a lamb pasty, lamb and mint.
Okay.
And so we're going to try our pasties. Look at this, it's nice and warm.
Beautiful. That is one good looking pasty. No matter no matter what it tastes like, at least you can say this is a good looking pasty.
Okay, let's wait. Yeah, you can see the lamb. Oh, we're making a mess in the car. So this is the cheese and leek and onion. You can see the leeks in there. So the lamb pasty, you can see the big chunks of lamb and potato and carrot. The crust is really, really flaky. This is a lot more flavorful than the other cheese pasty I had because of the onion and the leek. It really gives it a good flavor. How's yours?
It's very good for a pasty.
Oh, I don't think we've totally converted
Well,
in.
here's the deal. I know that it would make the pasty a lot messier, but I would like to have a pasty with gravy inside of it. But I guess it probably wouldn't stay, it would be all soggy, I assume.
No, I think the problem is it would be great if we had like a bottle of HP sauce or something that we
Yeah,
could put on
a
it,
sauce.
a condiment.
I'm a big sauce person. So.
Yeah. So
But-
Ian's a bit saucy,
But-
and he's also a bit anti-crust.
But for a pasty, it's very, very good.
And what do you think of the crust?
It's good for a crust. Again, I'm not a big crust person. But as usual, I'm absolutely starving, so I'm enjoying this pasty.
Yep. We barely had breakfast and it's 1:30. So we're happy to have these warm pasties in Padstow. The logo for Chuff Bakery shows this bird. What do you think this is? Like a crow or a grackle or something?
No, 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 you silly bird. That is not a crow. It is, in fact, a chuff. After filming this bit, I later learned that the black bird in the logo is called a chuff and is a common bird in that area. In fact, in North Devon, we encountered a chuff's nest hotel in Linton.
So, as all the British people know, this rim, the outside crust on the pasty, is there to be a handle. So when these pasties were made traditionally, it was for miners. So tin miners would head out to work for the day and they would have a warm pasty and this would be their lunch. And because their hands would have tin or whatever on them, I've also heard arsenic, that wouldn't be safe for them to eat. It's kind of poisonous. So they would hold on to these edge crusts and then just eat the middle with the filling.
The best story about pasty crusts is the legend that says tin miners used to throw their leftover pasty edges to the knockers down in the mines. Knockers were mythical creatures that are something like leprechauns. These miniature people were 2 feet tall with large heads, long arms, wrinkled skin, and white whiskers. Sounds a bit like Dobby the house elf from Harry Potter, except instead of wearing a pillowcase, they wore miners' clothing. These critters were mischief makers who would steal miners' tools and food. So according to legend, the miners would toss pasty crusts to the knockers to placate them as a type of peace offering.
Now, the very old traditional pasty was a 2-course pasty with kind of the mains and the dessert. And I really wanted to try one of those pasties. I have been asking everybody, but I haven't been able to locate one. So, if any of you know of a place that actually still makes these pasties, and I don't mean a Bedfordshire clanger, that's different. One day we'll go to Bedfordshire and try those out because I would like to have that. but an actual legit vintage Cornish pasty with the mains and the dessert. Let me know where one gets one of those. Our pasties from Chuff Bakery were delicious. I'd give them a 9 out of 10. I'd love to know where you have had the best pasty you've ever eaten. Was it in Cornwall? Let me know the town and the name of the bakery, and maybe one day I will get back there and give it a try myself.
This sheep is staring at you because she wants to make sure that you have subscribed. If you have not yet subscribed to Magenta Otter Travels, please click on the little otter logo. Sorry, there's a lot of geese making noise in the background.
Bunny the sheep and I would like you to please check out some of our other vlogs.
Thanks for watching, and do something good in the world today.